Sometimes a single sentence can turn your world upside down. A word, a sound, a betrayal that changes everything. Jennifer's voice came through the speaker, clear and loud, saying, "God, Claire, I can't take it anymore." Claire was Jennifer's friend since college, a close friend whose voice I could hear through the speaker asking, "What's wrong?" And Jennifer continued without hesitation. "My dad is always here, Claire. Always coming every day. Sometimes every other day, but mostly every single day, and he stays for hours, talking for hours, telling the same stories, operating room stories from 1985, 1995, 2005, the same stories over and over and over again." I froze on the couch where I was sitting, literally unable to breathe while my heart pounded fast. Really fast. Jennifer continued her complaint. "He never stops talking. Never. And Mark and I are exhausted because we both work full-time. We have kids. We have housework. And my father is here every evening for 3 or 4 hours just talking, talking, talking." Claire's voice came through asking, "Did you talk to him about it? Did you tell him?" "How am I supposed to tell him, Claire? Am I supposed to say, 'Dad, you talk too much, go away'? He's my dad. My mom died. He's alone. I get it. But that's not my problem, Claire. It's not my problem." Every word felt like a knife stabbing my heart. Before continuing, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and let us know in the comments where you're listening from. My name is Thomas Mitchell, and I'm 74 years old, living in Seattle as a retired surgeon who worked for 42 years as a heart surgeon in operating rooms, saving lives every day, with every operation carrying responsibility and stress, but also deep meaning. And that Wednesday evening, that damn Wednesday evening in November 2021, everything changed forever. I was at Jennifer's house visiting my daughter, my only child who was 46 years old, a beautiful woman who looked like her mother Helen, with the same green eyes, the same smile, the same loud laugh. Helen was my wife, my soul, and we were married for 52 years before she died 3 years ago in 2018 from cancer that took her fast and mercilessly in just 6 months. And she was holding my hand when she took her last breath, saying, "Thomas, you are a strong man, so look after Jennifer, look after yourself, and keep on living." I kept on living, but how could I when we'd been together for 52 years? Waking up next to her every morning, making coffee together, talking, making plans, laughing. And then came the terrible void. The house became quiet, so very quiet. Because I wake up in the mornings and Helen isn't there. I make coffee and Helen is gone. I watch TV and Helen is gone. I go to bed and Helen is gone. It's unbearable. So I visited Jennifer every day, or sometimes every other day, but honestly most days, almost every day, because there I found family. Jennifer, Mark, my son-in-law who was a good guy, though a little quiet but hard-working, and my 2 grandchildren, Emma, who was 13 and smart, and Lucas, who was 10 and energetic. Spending time with them made me forget Helen a little, just a little bit. That Wednesday evening on November 10th, 2021, I was there too for dinner where Jennifer had cooked chicken and rice and salad, a nice meal, and we ate and talked while I talked a lot. I told operating room stories like the one from 1995 about a heart transplant, where the patient was a 23-year-old man who was dying when a donor heart arrived. And after 12 hours of surgery with an amazing team, we saved him. And he's 50 now and still alive. Jennifer smiled and said, "That's wonderful, Dad, but you look really tired. Maybe you should go home early?" "I'm not tired, I'm fine, and I have so much more to tell," I started to say. "Dad, you come here every day, so maybe you should rest a little at home, and we'll see each other again tomorrow," she interrupted. My heart sank, but I didn't argue, saying, "Okay, sweetheart, you're right." I got up and hugged her, saying, "Good night, Jennifer. I love you. I love you too, Dad, she replied. I was getting ready to leave and putting on my jacket when Jennifer said, Dad, wait. My phone is in your car because we went to the market in your car this morning. Remember? My phone might be in the back seat, so can I get the keys? Of course, here you go, sweetie, I said, handing her the keys. Jennifer went out, and the door closed behind her while I sat down on the couch to wait. 1 minute passed, then 2 minutes, then 5 minutes, which seemed strange because it only takes 30 seconds to get a phone. So why was it taking so long? 10 minutes passed and I got curious, so I got up and went to the window to look outside. My car was there parked with the door open, and Jennifer was sitting inside talking on the phone, and I could see her talking animatedly while gesturing with her hands. I went back to the living room and sat down to wait some more. And then the moment came. Sound. Jennifer's voice, but it wasn't coming from the car. It was coming from inside the house. In the living room, there was a Bluetooth speaker in the corner, a little speaker that Emma used to listen to music. And I was surprised because why was Jennifer's voice coming from the speaker? Then I remembered what had happened this morning when I had gotten into Jennifer's car on the way to the market with my Bluetooth headset around my neck, and I had taken it off and left it on the back seat, and the headset had stayed connected to Jennifer's phone through automatic connection. And now Jennifer was talking on the phone while the headset was at home, and the speaker had turned on automatically because of the Bluetooth connection, so Jennifer's voice was coming through clear and loud. God, Claire, I can't take it anymore, Jennifer was saying. Claire was Jennifer's friend since college, her close friend whose voice I could hear through the speaker on the other end of the phone asking, What's wrong? And Jennifer continued, My dad is always here, Claire. Always coming every day. Sometimes every other day, but mostly every single day. And he stays for hours, talking for hours, telling the same stories, operating room stories from 1985, 1995, 2005. The same stories over and over and over again. I froze on the couch where I was sitting, literally unable to breathe, while my heart was pounding fast, really fast. Jennifer continued, He never stops talking. Never. And Mark and I are exhausted because we both work full-time. We have kids, we have housework, and my father is here every evening for 3 or 4 hours just talking. Claire's voice asked, Did you talk to him about it? Did you tell him? How am I supposed to tell him, Claire? Am I supposed to say, Dad, you talk too much, go away? He's my dad. My mom died. He's alone. I get it. But that's not my problem, Claire. It's not my problem. Every word felt like a knife stabbing my heart, each one cutting deeper. He's retired and he's alone, but it's not my problem because I want to live my own life. Mark and I work, we take care of the kids, and we don't have time to listen to my dad tell stories here for 3 hours every day, Jennifer said. My eyes filled up instantly as tears streamed down my cheeks, completely beyond my control. My daughter was saying this, my own daughter, and I wondered if this was really how she felt, if I was really bothering her, if I was really the problem. Claire asked, So what are you going to do? Is there a solution? Jennifer took a deep breath before saying, I don't know, Claire, but Mark and I talked and maybe we're thinking about a nursing home or assisted living. Living for seniors where he'll make friends and there will be activities and he'll leave us alone. A nursing home, a retirement home. They wanted to send me to a retirement home? My chest tightened so I couldn't breathe, and my hands were shaking uncontrollably. Claire asked, Have you told your father about this? No, because he's stubborn, always saying, I'm healthy, I'm happy in my house. But the truth is, Claire, that house is too big for him. All alone in 4 bedrooms with a large yard in the Queen Anne neighborhood with a property value of $820,000. And he's there all alone, so it's going to waste, Jennifer explained. I stopped breathing and listened because more was coming. Worse was coming. and I could feel it. "Mark and I are still paying rent," Jennifer said with her voice a little shaky from what might have been guilt or anger. "And we both work making good salaries. But Seattle is expensive with rent at $2,800 a month, and my dad's house is just sitting there empty." "What do you mean by that?" Claire asked carefully. "I mean, Claire, that if Dad goes into a nursing home, and if the house is sold, we could use that money," Jennifer said plainly. There it was. She said it clearly and without hesitation. She wanted my house and she wanted my money. The tears stopped suddenly, and in their place came something else. Anger, cold anger, icy anger that froze everything inside me. Jennifer continued talking while I sat there listening to every single word. "Claire, what I'm about to say is terrible, but I'm going to tell you the truth," Jennifer said. "Tell me," Claire replied with her voice curious and worried. "When Dad comes over every day and talks for hours, Mark and I say things to him like, 'You're tired, Dad. Maybe you should leave early today,' or 'Does your head hurt, Dad? Maybe you should rest.' Little things like that. But it has no effect because he doesn't understand or he doesn't want to understand," Jennifer explained. "So what are you planning?" Claire asked. "Well, Mark had an idea where he said, maybe we should tell Dad he's a little forgetful and we should take him to the doctor and maybe we'll get a report and maybe then we can do something," Jennifer said. Silence followed as Claire didn't respond, seemingly shocked by what she was hearing. Jennifer continued talking fast, clearly on the defensive. "I know, Claire, I know it sounds bad, but think about it. My dad is 74, and he really does forget things sometimes. Like last week when he told the same story twice on the same evening, and he didn't even notice. These were lies, complete lies, because I had told that story once, only once, but Jennifer was saying twice to convince herself it was true. So if he starts to seem a little forgetful, we'll take him to the doctor, and maybe he'll be diagnosed with mild dementia or cognitive decline or something. And then we'll apply for assisted living where we'll put him because it's a safe place with care and activities, and it's good for us and good for him," Jennifer explained. Claire finally spoke up, saying, "Jennifer, this is a very dangerous path you're talking about. Lying to your father, lying to the doctor, fabricating a diagnosis. This could be illegal." "I know." Jennifer's voice rose before it lowered again. "I know, Claire, but there's no other way. Because look, Mark's promotion is coming in 6 months when he'll be a senior manager with a higher salary, and we want to buy a new house, a real house, not a rental, but our own house." "But what about the down payment?" Claire asked. "That's the thing. There is no down payment because we have no savings, but my dad has a house worth $820,000, and if we sell it, we'll get at least $400,000, maybe more after taxes and expenses, but $400,000 for sure," Jennifer explained. "And what about your dad? Where will he be?" Claire asked. "Assisted living will cost about $4,500 a month, but Dad's pension as a retired doctor is $5,000 a month, plus Social Security at $1,900, so total $6,900, which is enough and even more," Jennifer calculated. "But Jennifer, that money is all your father's. How can you justify taking it?" Claire challenged. "Power of attorney, Claire, that's how. If my father is diagnosed with cognitive decline, we can get legal power of attorney, and then we make all the decisions including selling the house and managing the money, everything," Jennifer said with finality. There it was. The complete plan laid out step by step. Make me seem forgetful, take me to the doctor, get a fake diagnosis, get power of attorney, sell the house, and take the money. My daughter was planning all of this. My own daughter was making such a plan against me. I sat there on the couch in the dark because I hadn't turned on the light when Jennifer went outside. And now I was sitting in darkness listening to my daughter planning how to rob me of everything. Claire asked with concern, "Jennifer, Are you really going to do this? There was a long silence before Jennifer answered with her voice soft and fragile. I don't know, Claire. But I have to do something because this situation is unsustainable. My dad is here every day, Mark is going crazy, I'm going crazy, and even the kids are noticing because they say, Mom, why does Grandpa come every day? And what am I supposed to say to them? Maybe you should be honest with your dad and tell him the truth by saying, Dad, I love you, but you can't come every day. Come 2 or 3 times a week on special days, but not every day, Claire suggested. I tried, Claire, I tried. But he doesn't understand or he doesn't want to understand because every time I say, okay, sweetheart, I'll come less, often, but the next day he's at the door again, Jennifer claimed. These were more lies because Jennifer never said anything like, don't come every day. She only said things like, you're tired, go home early, which was completely different from what she was claiming. But now she was lying to Claire to justify her actions and convince herself she was doing the right thing. Okay, Claire said. If you're going to do it, be careful because this is a dangerous game, and if your father catches you, the relationship is over forever. I know, but I have to take the risk because there's no other option, Jennifer replied. Well, have you consulted a lawyer about the power of attorney process? Claire asked. Not yet, but Mark is researching online about Washington state laws, and apparently, if there's a doctor's report, it's easy to get court approval, especially for elderly people who are living alone and at risk of safety, Jennifer said. At risk of safety? But your dad is healthy, Claire pointed out. Right now, yes. But maybe if there are a few incidents, like maybe he leaves the stove on, or maybe he loses his keys, or maybe he has a minor accident in the car, small things like that. But if it's documented and combined with a doctor's report, the court will be convinced, Jennifer explained. There it was, the final piece of her plan. She wasn't just planning to lie, she was planning to create fake incidents to make me look dangerous and incompetent. My hands clenched into fists so tightly that my nails dug into my palms, and it hurt. But I didn't care because the pain inside me was so much worse than any physical pain. Jennifer said, Okay, Claire, I have to get back inside because my dad will wonder where I am. So we'll talk later, and thanks for listening to me. You're welcome. But Jennifer, really think about this carefully because this is a point of no return, Claire warned. I know, I'll think about it. Goodbye, Jennifer said. Goodbye, Claire replied. The phone call ended and the sound stopped, leaving the speaker silent while I sat in the dark, in the silence, completely alone. If I hadn't heard this conversation, what would have happened? I wouldn't have known anything. I would have lived a happy but wrong life where I visited my daughter, and we talked, and I smiled, completely unaware. But I heard it. I heard every single word, and now everything had changed forever. The door opened, and Jennifer came in asking, Dad, are you still here? She turned on the light and saw me sitting on the couch with tears on my face. Dad, what happened? Are you okay? She asked with apparent concern. I looked at her for a long time as if I didn't recognize her, because I truly didn't recognize her anymore. Was this woman really my daughter? My little girl? The girl I took to school? The woman I walked down the aisle? The person I loved? Or was she a stranger? The stranger who was willing to sell me out for money? I'm fine, I said with my voice hoarse. I was just thinking about Helen, that's all. Jennifer softened immediately and came over to sit down next to me, hugging me while saying, Oh, Dad, I know it's hard, really hard, but it will pass with time, I promise. I felt her hug and her warmth and her scent, my daughter, but now she felt like a stranger to me. Yes, it will pass with time because everything passes, I said quietly. Go now, Dad, and rest. and we'll see each other tomorrow, okay? She said. Okay, sweetheart, I replied. I got up slowly because my legs were numb, and I walked to the door and put on my coat before turning around to look at Jennifer one more time. She was smiling with a fake smile, but it was a beautiful fake smile. And I had gotten very used to fake smiles during my 42 years as a surgeon, when people always smiled fake smiles. Patients' families, colleagues, hospital administrators following policy. But I didn't expect it from my daughter. I never expected this from my own daughter. Good night, Jennifer. I love you, I said. I love you too, Dad. I love you so much, she replied convincingly. It was a lie, definitely a lie, but she said it beautifully and believably, like a perfect performance. I left and the door closed behind me, and I got in my car and sat there without starting the engine, just sitting in darkness and silence, completely alone. I thought about everything I had heard, replaying every word in my mind. Dad's always here, talking for hours. I can't stand it. And nursing home, assisted living, sell the house, shown. And $400,000 we could use it. And act forgetful, doctor's report, power of attorney. And we'll create an incident with the stove on or keys missing or an accident. It was a complete plan, a detailed plan, and I knew nothing about it. I was wandering around completely clueless and blissfully ignorant. My hands on the steering wheel were shaking so badly I couldn't control them, so I took a deep breath using the surgical technique for stress management that I'd learned during 42 years in operating rooms, handling crises like cardiac arrests and bleeding and complications while always staying calm. But now I couldn't stay calm because this was different. This was personal. This cut to my very core. I took out my phone and looked at it, wondering if I should call Jennifer right away and confront her by saying, I heard everything. What does this mean? No, it was too early for that because Jennifer would just deny everything by saying, Dad, you misunderstood. We were just talking. It wasn't serious. And she would lie with more lies. Or she would get angry and blame me by saying, Dad, were you listening to me secretly? This is unbelievable. You invaded my privacy. And she would make herself the victim because people always do that when they get caught. They blame someone else. No, I had to stay quiet for now. I had to think carefully. I had to make my own plan. Because Jennifer had made a plan against me, so now I had to make a counter plan. But how exactly should I do this? And what should I do first? The first step was gathering evidence because right now I had only heard the conversation, but there was no recording and no proof that would hold up. The Bluetooth connection was still active because the headphones were still in Jennifer's car connected to her phone. So if Jennifer talked on the phone again, I would hear it automatically through the speaker. And if I recorded those conversations, I would have real evidence that I could use. But was recording legal under Washington state law? Was it one-party consent or two-party consent? I didn't know the answer, but I had to find out immediately. So I started the engine and drove home to Queen Anne, which took 20 minutes on autopilot while I was thinking the entire way. I arrived home at my big house with 4 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms and a big kitchen and living room and dining room and basement and attic. Helen and I bought this house 45 years ago in 1976 when the price was $75,000, and now it was worth $820,000. 11 times more in an incredible increase. But Helen had died, and now I was left alone in this big house, all by myself. Jennifer was right about one thing. The house was too big for one person. But this was my home where all my memories lived, where Helen was present in every room and every corner. In our bedroom, we had slept together for 52 years, and she got sick there and suffered there during her final days. In the kitchen, she had cooked every single day. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, holiday meals for Christmas and Thanksgiving. In the garden, we had planted flowers together, especially roses because Helen loved roses. Red roses that bloomed magnificently every summer. In this house, I had lived real life with family and love and happiness, and Jennifer wanted to sell it all for $400,000. I went inside and turned on the lights in the empty, silent house before turning on my computer to do research on Washington state recording laws. The search results came up and I read them carefully, learning that Washington state had a one-party consent law, which meant that if I was part of the conversation, I could record it legally. But I wasn't part of Jennifer's conversation with Claire. They were talking while I was just listening accidentally. However, the Bluetooth device was mine, the headphones were mine, and even though the phone was Jennifer's, the device receiving the signal was mine. So this was a gray area, a legal gray area that I would need to discuss with a lawyer. I should call a lawyer immediately, but it was already 11 p.m., which was too late. So I would have to wait until tomorrow morning. I did a second search on Power of Attorney Washington State Elderly, and the results came in with pages and pages of information that I read carefully. I learned that if an elderly person is declared incapacitated or incompetent, the family can apply for guardianship or conservatorship to get power of attorney and legal guardianship over that person. The process involved getting a doctor's report, filing a court petition, attending a hearing, and receiving a decision from the judge. If the court approves the petition, the family takes complete control over the home and money and medical decisions, everything in that person's life, and the elderly person can do absolutely nothing about it because they become legally imprisoned, trapped in a system designed to protect them. My chest tightened as I realized this was Jennifer's exact plan, to imprison me legally and take everything I owned. But I was healthy with a sound mind, I wasn't forgetful, and I had no cognitive problems whatsoever. However, Jennifer was planning to get a fake medical report by either deceiving the doctor or possibly even bribing someone. Who knows what lengths she would go to. No, I wouldn't allow this to happen to me. I had to make my own plan, a counter plan, a strategy to protect myself. I took out paper and pen and started writing. Title: Operation Protection. Objective: protect myself, thwart Jennifer's plan, protect my assets. Steps to take. First, I need to record Jennifer's conversations to gather solid evidence. Because just one conversation isn't enough. I need multiple recordings to show continuity and prove this is an ongoing plan. The Bluetooth is still connected with the headset in Jennifer's car, linked to her phone. So if Jennifer talks on the phone, I'll hear it through my speaker. But how do I record it? I'll use a phone app, a voice recording app, because the speaker is in my house and I'll record with my phone, which should be legal because it's in my house using my device. Second, I need to consult a lawyer, a reliable lawyer who's an expert in elder law, inheritance, and power of attorney issues. I used to work with hospital lawyers on malpractice cases, but now I need a personal lawyer, and I have a contact named Marcus Webb whom I consulted about retirement plans. He's a good guy and reliable. Third, I need a doctor's checkup, a full checkup with cognitive tests and memory tests to prove that I'm healthy with no problems. So if Jennifer gets a fake report, I'll counter it with my own real report. Fourth, I need asset protection for my house and money and retirement fund and doctor's pension and Social Security. Everything needs to be protected so Jennifer can't touch any of it. The way to do this is through a trust, specifically a living trust or revocable trust, where the house goes into the trust and the money goes into the trust, and I become the trustee who controls it. But if something happens to me, a backup trustee takes over. Not Jennifer, but someone else. Who should the backup trustee be? I don't know yet. Maybe my lawyer Marcus, or maybe a charity or trustworthy institution. Fifth, I need to update my will because right now the will states that everything goes to Jennifer since she's my only child and sole beneficiary. But now I need to change it. Should I remove Jennifer completely? That seems too harsh and too radical right now. So maybe I should wait until after I gather more evidence and after I confront her to see how she reacts. Will she regret her actions or will she go on the defensive? I'll make my final decision based on her reaction to being confronted. Sixth, I need to create distance by cutting back on visiting Jennifer, because going there every day is now dangerous, since Jennifer is gathering evidence of my supposed forgetfulness and evidence of me repeating the same story. But the truth is that I don't actually forget things, and I don't tell the same story twice. Jennifer is planning to make it seem that way by lying to the doctor and lying to the court. That's why I need distance. Maybe one visit a week or maybe 2 visits a week, but definitely not every day anymore. My excuse will be, I'm busy because I started new hobbies and I made new friends, or something along those lines. Seventh, I actually do need to start real hobbies and make real friends, because Jennifer was right about one thing. I'm lonely, very lonely. After Helen died, I never socialized because my friends either died or got sick or moved away, and I became isolated with Jennifer being the only person left in my life. And that's not healthy at all. Jennifer was absolutely right when she said, "My dad comes every day because he has nowhere else to go." It's true, painfully true. So I have to change by finding a community through a senior center or retirement activities like golf or bowling or book club or something similar. Eighth, and most important, I have to stay completely quiet about everything because Jennifer mustn't know anything. She mustn't suspect anything at all. I have to act completely normal by continuing the visits, but being much more careful. I won't tell the same story twice. I'll control my memory carefully, and I'll always be alert. And I have to wait patiently for my moment to strike after gathering all the evidence I need, and then I'll confront her with everything. I read through the plan from start to finish and realized it was a good plan, comprehensive and detailed, just like the surgical plans I'd made for 42 years that taught me that a good plan saves lives, while a bad plan brings death. Now it was time for execution of my plan. Part 2. Gathering Evidence. The next morning on November 11th, 2021, I woke up early at 6 o'clock from the habit I'd developed during my years as a surgeon, when I had to get up early to get ready and go to the operating room. I made coffee and sat in the kitchen thinking about what I should do today to start implementing my plan. At 8 o'clock, I called Marcus Webb, my lawyer, saying, "Marcus, this is Thomas Mitchell and we need to talk urgently." "Thomas, hello, of course we can talk. When would you like to meet?" he replied. "Today, if possible," I said. "I'm free at 2 in the afternoon. Is that okay?" he offered. "Perfect. I'll be there," I confirmed. My second call was to Dr. Harrison, who had been my family doctor for 20 years, and I said, "Doctor, this is Thomas Mitchell, and I want an appointment for a full checkup, including a cognitive test. When are you available?" "Thomas, is everything okay?" he asked with concern. "Everything's fine, I just need a checkup because I'm 74, and I need regular checkups," I explained. "I understand. Is Thursday this week okay for you?" he suggested. "Perfect. Thank you, doctor," I said. My third task was downloading a voice recording app on my phone called Voice Recorder Pro that had good reviews and professional features. I tested it by speaking and recording and listening back, and the quality was good, clear and crisp, exactly what I needed. Now I had to wait until Jennifer was on the phone again. And as long as Bluetooth remained connected, I would hear everything and record it all. At 2 in the afternoon, I arrived at Marcus's office in downtown Seattle in a skyscraper on the 30th floor. Marcus was 60 years old, medium height, slightly overweight, wearing glasses, and he had a serious but warm demeanor. "Thomas, welcome. Please sit down. Would you like coffee?" he offered. "No, thank you," I declined. I sat down while Marcus took his place across the desk and waited patiently for me to explain. "Marcus, I need to talk to you about something very private that has to stay completely confidential," I began. "Of course, Thomas. Everything falls under attorney-client privilege, so everything is confidential," he assured me. "Good, because this is about my family," I said, before telling him everything. Jennifer's phone call, the Bluetooth connection, her complete plan, the nursing home idea, selling the house, getting power of attorney, and fabricating a fake doctor's report. Marcus listened carefully while taking notes, frowning sometimes and nodding at other times, and when I finished, he asked, "Thomas, did you record this conversation you overheard?" "No, not the first time, but I plan to record any future conversations if Jennifer talks again," I explained. "Good, because you need proof. Your word alone isn't enough, especially if this goes to court," he said. "Isn't Washington a one-party consent state, so recording would be legal?" I asked. "Yes, it's one-party consent, but in your case it's a little complicated because you're not technically a party to the conversation. Jennifer and her friend talked while you just listened accidentally," he explained. "But the Bluetooth device is mine and my house is mine, so isn't that legal?" I challenged. Marcus thought carefully before responding. "It's a gray area, Thomas, and the court might argue about it, but I think it's defensible because the device is yours and Jennifer used your device without permission. So technically, she violated your privacy, not the other way around." I relaxed a little and said, "Good, then I'll continue recording whenever possible." "Yes, and Thomas, make sure you get multiple recordings, because one conversation isn't enough. You need several conversations to show continuity and prove Jennifer's plan is ongoing and deliberate," Marcus advised. "Understood," I said. "Now let's talk about asset protection. What's your plan?" he asked. "I want to create a living trust, a revocable one, where my house and money go into the trust with me as the trustee. But we need a backup trustee who's not Jennifer," I explained. "Right, so who should that be?" he asked. "I don't know, would you be willing to do it?" I suggested. Marcus smiled and said, "Sure, Thomas, I could do it. But it could also be a professional trustee, like a bank or trust company, which might be more neutral." "I'd prefer if you did it because I know you and I trust you," I said. "Okay, then let's prepare the documents for signatures and notarization, and it'll be done within a week," he said. "Perfect," I replied. "One more thing, Thomas. Do you want to update your will as well?" he asked. I paused to think before saying, "Right now everything goes to Jennifer, but maybe I should change it." "My advice is to wait until you gather evidence and confront her, and then let's see what Jennifer does. If she regrets it and apologizes, maybe you'll forgive her. But if she gets defensive and lies, then you should definitely change it," Marcus suggested. "That's good advice. I'll do exactly that," I agreed. When I left the office, I felt relieved because my plan was moving forward and concrete steps were being taken to protect myself. I came home that evening and made myself a simple dinner of sandwiches and soup, and I ate while watching TV news and sports. But my mind was completely focused on Jennifer. Would she talk on the phone today? And if so, could I record it successfully? 9 o'clock came and the phone rang, showing Jennifer's name on the screen, and my heart raced as I answered. "Hello? Dad, it's Jennifer. Are you okay?" she asked. "I'm fine, sweetie. How are you?" I replied. "I'm fine. It's just that I didn't see you today, so I wanted to make sure everything was okay," she explained. "Everything's fine. I was just tired, so I rested at home," I said. "Oh, good. Will you come tomorrow for dinner?" she asked. I remembered my plan about creating distance and having fewer visits, so I said, "Tomorrow?" "I don't know, sweetie, because I'm a bit busy with a doctor's appointment, and then I'm meeting a friend, an old colleague from the hospital." This was a lie, but it was a necessary lie to start establishing my new pattern. "Oh, okay, Dad. How about Saturday then?" she suggested. "Saturday is fine. I'll come on Saturday," I agreed. "Perfect. See you then. I love you," she said. "I love you too," I replied. The phone call ended, and I felt good about how I'd handled it. Jennifer was acting completely normal without any suspicion about what I knew. That night before bed, something significant happened at 11 o'clock when I was about to get into bed, and suddenly a voice came from the Bluetooth speaker in the living room. It was Jennifer's voice because she was talking on the phone at 11 at night. So I ran to the living room and grabbed my phone and started the recording app immediately. Jennifer was talking on the phone, but not to Claire this time. Instead, she was talking to someone else, a man's voice that I recognized as Mark, my son-in-law. "Yeah, I didn't see my dad today, which is actually fine because we can catch our breath a little," Jennifer was saying. Mark replied, "I hope he's not upset about waiting so long while you were talking in the car last night." "No, he's not upset. He seemed tired and he left early, so it's fine," Jennifer said. "Good. So what about that plan we discussed? Have you thought about it more?" Mark asked directly. Jennifer paused before asking, "What plan are you talking about?" "You know exactly what plan I mean. The plan to take your dad to the doctor, get him into a nursing home, and sell the house, Ma," Mark said bluntly. Jennifer was silent for a moment before speaking with her voice strained and low. "Mark, let's not talk about that plan on the phone right now. We'll discuss it at home." "Why not? No one's listening to us," Mark said. "Still, let's be careful and not discuss it over the phone," Jennifer insisted. Okay, fine. But I'm serious, Jennifer, because we have to do something now. The mortgage bill came today for $2,800, which is our rent money. But your dad is sitting in an $820,000 house all alone. And it's not fair," Mark complained. "I know, Mark, I know, but we have to be patient because there's a plan and we'll move slowly. Because if we rush it, my dad will get suspicious," Jennifer explained. "How slowly are we talking? A month? 2 months? 6 months? I can't wait forever, Jennifer. Because I'm getting a promotion and I want to buy a house, a real house, but I don't have a down payment, and if your dad's house doesn't sell, we can't get anything," Mark said with frustration. Jennifer got angry, and I could hear it in her voice when she said, "Mark, I know. Don't pressure me because I'll take care of it, I promise, but I need time." "How much time exactly?" Mark demanded. "I don't know, but we'll start within a month, okay?" Jennifer said. Mark paused before saying, "1 month, okay. But Jennifer, no more than a month. Otherwise, I'll make my own plans." "What do you mean by that?" Jennifer asked. "I mean, maybe there are other ways, legal ways like hiring a lawyer and going to court and filing a guardianship petition. And if you don't do it, I will," Mark threatened. "Mark! He's my father and I'll handle it," Jennifer shouted. Okay, calm down. I'm just being serious because we can't keep waiting forever," Mark said. Jennifer took a deep breath before saying, "Okay, 1 month, and we'll start in 1 month, I promise." "Good. Now come inside because it's late and we have to go to bed," Mark said. "I'm coming," Jennifer replied. The phone call ended and the sound stopped, so I paused the recording and listened to it again from the beginning. It was perfect, a perfect recording that was clear and crisp, and the plan had been repeated with Mark included, showing that the two of them were planning this together. They would start in 1 month according to what they'd just said, so this was urgent, very urgent, and I needed to speed up my own plan immediately. Part 3. The Confrontation. 10 days passed between November 11th and November 21st, 2021. 10 intense but outwardly quiet days where Jennifer didn't know anything about what I knew. I was acting completely normal by visiting on Saturdays for short visits of just an hour or two before going home. "Dad, are you leaving early today?" Jennifer would ask with apparent surprise. "Yes, sweetie. I'm a bit tired, and I'm meeting a friend tonight, an old friend from the hospital," I would say. "Ah, that's great, Dad. You're socializing, which is really good," she would respond enthusiastically. She was smiling and happy because she thought her plan was working. Dad isn't coming every day anymore, which means the situation is improving. But she didn't know that I could hear everything, every conversation, every detail of her plan. The Bluetooth was still connected with the headset in Jennifer's car linked to her phone, and Jennifer talked on the phone frequently, giving me multiple opportunities to record. The second recording came on November 14th, 4 days later, when Jennifer was talking to Claire again. "Claire, Mark is pushing hard by saying 1 month, and he says we have to start within a month, otherwise he'll do it himself," Jennifer said. "What will he do exactly?" Claire asked. "He'll hire a lawyer and go to court and file a guardianship petition to have my father declared incapacitated," Jennifer explained. "Jennifer, that's very aggressive. Are you sure about this?" Claire asked with concern. "I'm not sure, but Mark is very sure because we argued last night, and he said, 'He's your father, but he's our future, and I want to buy a house with better schools for the kids and a better life. But your father is sitting on $820,000 while we're paying rent. And it's not fair," Jennifer recounted. "So what did you say to him?" Claire asked. "I said, 'Okay, I'll start in 2 weeks, I promise.' And I will start, Claire, because I have to start," Jennifer said with resignation. "How will you start exactly?" Claire pressed. Jennifer took a deep breath before explaining. "First, I'll take my dad to a doctor's appointment by saying it's a routine checkup. But I'll talk to the doctor beforehand and say, 'My dad is forgetful and he repeats the same things and I'm worried.' And the doctor will run tests and maybe they'll find minor issues that are normal for old age, but the report might say, 'Potential cognitive decline.' With small wording, that's enough." "Enough for what?" Claire asked. "For power of attorney, Claire. Because if the report says cognitive decline, we'll hire a lawyer and file a petition saying my father is unable to make decisions for himself and his safety is at risk because the house is too big and he lives alone and he needs help. And the court will listen, especially if there's a doctor's report," Jennifer explained. "And then what happens?" Claire asked. "Then we get guardianship or conservatorship, whichever one works, and we become his legal guardians so we can decide about selling the house and managing his money and everything. And my father won't be able to do anything about it," Jennifer said. I recorded every word clearly and plainly. It was horrible but perfect evidence. The third recording came on November 18th, 1 week later, when Jennifer was on the phone with Mark. "Mark, there's a doctor's appointment tomorrow where I'm taking my dad to Dr. Morrison, the family doctor," Jennifer said. "Good. Did you talk to him beforehand?" Mark asked. "Yes, I called this morning and said, 'Doctor, I'm worried about my dad because he's forgetful and he repeats himself, so would you examine him and do a cognitive test?' And the doctor agreed," Jennifer explained. "Will he write a report?" Mark asked. "He will, but he won't make a full diagnosis because my dad doesn't really have dementia. But he might write mild cognitive decline or age-related forgetfulness, using medical terms that sound serious and will be useful in court," Jennifer said. "Okay, you take him tomorrow and I'll call the lawyer. I got a name, Liz Brennan, who's an elder law specialist handling guardianship cases, so should I make an appointment?" Mark asked. "Do it. We'll go after we get the doctor's report for a consultation where we'll make a complete plan," Jennifer agreed. "Okay, Jennifer. This is really happening, isn't it? We're really doing this?" Mark asked. Jennifer paused with a long silence before answering with her voice soft and fragile. "Yes, Mark. We're really doing this because there's no other option. I love my dad, but we have our own lives too. And this is fair because we'll take care of him by finding a good place, but we'll have our home and our future." Mark replied, "Good, it's the right decision. It's hard, but it's right." The phone call ended and I sat in the living room in the dark, listening to the recording again. "It's the right decision," Mark had said. But no, it was the wrong decision, very wrong. But they had convinced themselves by saying, "It's fair, we'll take care of him," which were just lies, all lies told for money and a house and their future. But their future, not mine. Now I had 3 recordings from 3 separate conversations on 3 separate dates, showing a clear pattern and a consistent plan. This was proof, real proof. Marcus had been right when he said one recording wasn't enough, but 3 recordings were perfect evidence. Tomorrow, on November 19th, Jennifer was planning to take me to Dr. Morrison, but she didn't know that I'd already been to Dr. Harrison on November 15th, 5 days earlier, for a full checkup including a cognitive test. The results had been perfect, with Dr. Harrison saying, "Mr. Mitchell, you show no cognitive decline. Your memory is excellent, your judgment is clear, and your decision-making ability is intact, which means you're in exceptional health for a 74-year-old. Dr. Harrison had written a detailed report that was notarized and dated November 15th, 2021. So now I had the real doctor's report in my hand to counter Jennifer's planned fake report. And tomorrow I was going to Dr. Morrison with Jennifer, but she didn't know that I'd already consulted with him over the phone. "Dr. Morrison, this is Thomas Mitchell, a former surgeon who's now retired, and my daughter Jennifer is bringing me to you tomorrow for an appointment she made. But the reason is fake because she'll lie to you by saying, 'My father is forgetful.' And she'll ask for a doctor's report for guardianship purposes to deceive me," I had explained. Dr. Morrison had been shocked, saying, "That's a serious accusation, Mr. Mitchell." "I know it's serious, but I have proof in the form of recordings where Jennifer's own voice reveals she planned everything," I had said. "I understand. So what do you want me to do tomorrow?" he had asked. "Do a normal examination and test me properly, but write a real report, not a fake one. If I'm healthy, write that I'm healthy, and if Jennifer pressures you, refuse and say it's against your code of ethics," I had instructed. "Understood, Mr. Mitchell. I'll see you tomorrow. And don't worry, because I'll do the right thing," he had promised. Now everything was ready and the trap was set. Jennifer would come expecting to manipulate the doctor, but she wouldn't succeed. November 19th, 2021, was a Friday when Jennifer arrived at my house at 10 o'clock in the morning. "Dad, are you ready for your doctor's appointment?" she asked cheerfully. "Which doctor are we seeing?" I asked. "Dr. Morrison, your family doctor, for a routine checkup," she said. "But I usually go to Dr. Harrison. Why Morrison?" I questioned. Jennifer paused, clearly unprepared for this question, before saying, "Dr. Morrison is closer to our area, and he's a good doctor who was recommended by my friend." It was a lie, but a well-practiced lie that she'd obviously rehearsed. "Okay, let's go then," I agreed. We got in the car with Jennifer driving, and we talked on the way about normal things like the weather and the kids and plans. But I knew exactly what was going through Jennifer's mind. She was thinking about talking to the doctor and getting that report to make her plan work. We arrived at the Morrison Clinic and went inside to the waiting room where there were a few other patients, mostly elderly people and sick people waiting for their appointments. A nurse called us by saying, "Mr. Mitchell, the doctor is ready to see you now." We went into the examination room with Jennifer coming in with me as she always did, saying, "I want to come with you, Dad, so I can take notes." Dr. Morrison was there waiting, a middle-aged man who looked about 45 with a serious face and a white coat. "Mr. Mitchell, welcome. I'm Dr. Morrison. Please sit down," he said professionally. We sat down with Jennifer right next to me, and Dr. Morrison asked, "Why are you here today, Mr. Mitchell?" directing the question to me, not to Jennifer. "It's a routine checkup. My daughter suggested it," I explained simply. "I see. And do you have any complaints or health issues?" he asked. "No, I'm fine and healthy," I replied. Dr. Morrison nodded before turning to Jennifer and asking, "What do you think, Ms. Jennifer? I'm his daughter, and I'm worried, doctor, because my dad is forgetful sometimes. He repeats the same stories and asks the same questions, so maybe you could do some cognitive testing," she said. Dr. Morrison looked at me and then at Jennifer before asking, "Mr. Mitchell, what do you think about this? Do you feel forgetful?" "No, my memory is fine and sharp with no problems," I stated clearly. Jennifer interjected by saying, "But Dad, last week you told the same operating room story twice on the same evening, don't you remember?" I looked at her calmly and said, "No, Jennifer. I told it once. Only once, and you're mixing things up." "Dad, I'm sure it was twice," she started to insist. "Jennifer," Dr. Morrison interrupted firmly, "please, let's do the examination first, and we'll talk afterwards." The examination began with blood pressure and pulse and lungs and heart checks, and everything was completely normal. Then came the cognitive test with questions like, "What day is it today? What's the date? Who is the president?" Count backwards from 100 in increments of 7. I answered every single question easily because my mind was sharp and clear. Dr. Morrison took notes and wrote things down before looking at Jennifer and saying, "Miss Jennifer, your father is in excellent condition. His cognitive function is intact, his memory is sharp, and his judgment is clear with no decline whatsoever." Jennifer's face changed dramatically, showing shock and fear as she said, "But doctor, I told you on the phone that I said my father was forgetful." "Yes, you did say that. But the examination shows otherwise because your father is healthy. And there's no medical reason for me to write a report suggesting cognitive decline," Dr. Morrison said firmly. "But doctor," Jennifer tried to protest. "Ms. Jennifer," Dr. Morrison's voice hardened, "I am a doctor who writes reports based on medical facts, not based on family wishes. And Mr. Mitchell is healthy. That is the fact, and that will be my report." Jennifer froze and was silent because her plan had collapsed right there in that moment. I spoke up and said, "Doctor, thank you. Could you write that report and have it notarized with today's date, because I might need it for legal reasons?" Dr. Morrison understood immediately and nodded, saying, "Of course, Mr. Mitchell, I'll prepare it right away." 10 minutes later, I had the report in my hands, detailed, clear, and dated November 19th, 2021, stating, "Mr. Thomas Mitchell, age 74, excellent, cognitive health, no dementia, no cognitive decline, full decision-making capacity." We left the clinic with Jennifer being completely quiet as she sat in the car and started driving home. "Dad," she finally said, "I'm sorry. I was worried about you, but the doctor said you're fine, which is good news." I looked at her carefully and asked, "Jennifer, were you really worried, or was there another reason for this visit?" She turned to me with her eyes widening as she asked, "What do you mean by that?" "Nothing. I was just curious," I said casually. The silence between us was tense as she drove, and when she dropped me off at home, she said, "See you later, Dad." "See you," I replied, before closing the door and watching as her car drove away and disappeared. I went inside and sat down to read the report again, realizing I now had 2 separate reports, Dr. Harrison's report from November 15th and Dr. Morrison's report from November 19th, both saying exactly the same thing: healthy with no cognitive issues. Jennifer's plan had fallen apart completely, but it wasn't over yet because there was still Mark, who was pushing hard, and they were planning to hire lawyer Liz Brennan to take this to court with false claims and maybe false witnesses. No, I wouldn't let them do this. I would strike first before they could make their move. I called Marcus immediately and asked, "Marcus, are we ready with the documents?" "We're ready, Thomas. The trust is set up, the house is transferred, you're the trustee, and I'm the backup trustee, which means Jennifer has no rights," he confirmed. "Perfect. I'll be there tomorrow to sign everything," I said. "Okay. Come at 2 o'clock, he agreed. My second call was to Richard Chen, a voice recording expert who Marcus had recommended as a digital forensic expert. "Mr. Chen, this is Thomas Mitchell, and my lawyer Marcus Webb recommended you. I have 3 voice recordings that will be used in court. So can you analyze them and provide an authenticity report?" I asked. "Certainly, Mr. Mitchell. Send me the recordings and I'll have the report ready in 2 days," he said. Perfect. Thank you, I replied. Everything was moving forward quickly because it was finally time to execute my plan. November 20th, 2021 was a Saturday when I went to Marcus's office where the documents were ready on the desk in a stack of pages. Thomas, read everything carefully, every single page, and then sign. The notary is here and he'll certify everything, Marcus instructed. I read slowly and carefully through the living trust document, which was a revocable living trust where my house had been transferred to the trust. The Queen Anne house, worth $820,000, was no longer my personal property. It belonged to the trust, but I was the trustee and manager, which meant I could use it as I wished by selling it or renting it or doing anything else. But when I died or became incapacitated, the backup trustee, Marcus Webb, would take over to manage it and make all decisions. The beneficiaries were 3 charitable organizations: Seattle Children's Hospital, American Heart Association, and Alzheimer's Research Foundation, with equal shares for each. Jennifer wasn't listed anywhere. Her name wasn't even mentioned in the entire document. Marcus, if I die, will the house be sold? I asked. Yes, the trust will be liquidated and the money will go to the charities, he explained. Jennifer gets nothing? I confirmed. Nothing, zero, because that's exactly what the trust document says. But if you want to change it, you need to change it now before you sign, Marcus said. I paused to think about whether I should cut Jennifer out completely. She was my daughter, and I'd known her for 46 years since she was a baby in my arms when I took her to school and became a doctor, while she waited during my surgeries, and I walked her down the aisle and she brought me grandchildren. But now she was selling me out for my house and my money, so I made my decision. No, Marcus, I'm not changing anything. Jennifer is not a beneficiary, only the charities, I said firmly. Are you absolutely sure? He asked. Very sure, I confirmed. I signed every page while the notary watched and approved and sealed everything with the date November 20th, 2021, and it was done. The house was no longer technically mine but belonged to the trust, though I was in complete control and Jennifer could never have it. One more thing, Marcus, I need to change my will too, I said. Are you sure? Because yesterday you said to wait, he started to say. I've changed my mind, and I'm certain now because Jennifer betrayed me by trying to get a fake doctor's report. And even though she failed, her intent was crystal clear. So the will needs to change, I explained. All right, let's draft a new will. Who should the beneficiaries be? He asked. Same as the trust, Seattle Children's Hospital, American Heart Association, and Alzheimer's Research Foundation with equal shares. And Jennifer gets nothing, I stated. Marcus wrote it all down and said, It'll be ready in a week and you can come sign it then. Perfect, I said with satisfaction. I felt relieved when I left the office because my assets were now protected and Jennifer couldn't get anything. But it wasn't enough because a confrontation was necessary. Jennifer had to know that I knew everything about every plan and every lie. And there had to be punishment. Not just asset protection, but moral punishment and emotional punishment as well. I made my plan for a confrontation dinner where I would invite Jennifer and Mark by saying, I have an important announcement, and they would come curious and maybe even hopeful, thinking, maybe Dad will talk about the house or maybe he'll give it to us. No, it would be very different from what they expected. November 23rd, 2021 was a Tuesday when I called Jennifer to say, Jennifer, I'm inviting you and Mark to dinner on Saturday, November 27th at my house because I have an important announcement to make. Jennifer paused before asking, What announcement, Dad? It's about my future and my health and my house. Everything. But not over the phone because we need to talk face to face, I said. She was excited, which I could tell from her voice when she said, Okay, Dad, we'll come. What time? 7 o'clock, and I'll have dinner ready, I said. We'll bring the food, Dad, so you don't have to tire yourself, she started to say. No, I'll prepare it because it's my invitation, I insisted. Okay, Saturday at 7, we'll be there, she agreed. The phone call ended, and I knew exactly what Jennifer was thinking. She was telling Mark right now about how Dad invited them and made an important announcement, so maybe he'll talk about the house or maybe he'll move into assisted living. She was hopeful and excited because she thought the plan was working, and maybe Dad was making his own decision. No, Jennifer. It would be very different. Very different indeed. I made preparations for November 27th, which was a Saturday, by cooking dinner with meat and potatoes and vegetables and salad and dessert. Helen's dessert, which was cheesecake that Helen made every holiday. I set the table beautifully with a white tablecloth and candles and flowers, making it look like a special evening celebration. But I prepared a surprise, a Bluetooth speaker in the middle of the table, a small speaker that wasn't invisible but didn't draw too much attention. I had the 3 recordings ready on my phone with Jennifer's voice revealing every plan and every lie. At 7 o'clock, the doorbell rang and I opened it to see Jennifer and Mark standing there, smiling, happy, and hopeful. Dad, Jennifer hugged me enthusiastically, saying, I missed you so much. I missed you too, sweetheart, I replied. Mark shook my hand and asked, How are you, Thomas? I'm fine, Mark. Come in because dinner's ready, I said. We sat down at the table and I served the food, and we ate while having normal conversation about work and kids and weather. But Jennifer was curious and couldn't wait. Dad, you said you had an important announcement. What is it about? She asked eagerly. After dinner and dessert first, I said calmly. I brought out the cheesecake and Jennifer exclaimed, Oh, Dad, Mom's dessert. How did you make it? I still have the recipe in your mom's handwriting, and I followed it exactly, I explained. We ate the dessert and finished, and then I cleared the plates and sat back down at the table. Now for the important announcement, I said. Jennifer and Mark looked at me, waiting with visible excitement. I've noticed some things these past few weeks, I began slowly. Jennifer asked, Like what, Dad? Like the fact that you're talking about me. You talk a lot, but not to me. Instead, you talk to each other on the phone, I said. Jennifer's face changed slightly, showing tension as she asked, Dad, what do you mean? I mean this, I said, while reaching out to pick up the Bluetooth speaker and place it in the middle of the table. This is a simple speaker, but it has an interesting feature called Bluetooth connection, I explained. Mark looked at Jennifer while Jennifer stared at the speaker with growing dread. And on November 10th, 3 weeks ago, one evening I was at your house, Jennifer, and you went out to get my phone. But my headphones were left in the back seat of your car, and the headphones were connected to your phone through AutoConnect, I continued. Jennifer's face went completely white because she understood immediately what was coming. And you were talking on the phone with Claire, and I heard it, every single word, here in this house through this speaker, I said. My hand trembled slightly on the speaker, but my voice was calm and controlled, my surgeon's voice. Here's that conversation from November 10th, 2021, I said, before pressing play. Jennifer's voice filled the room, clear and loud and horrible. God, Claire, I can't take it anymore. My dad is always here. He comes every day. He talks for hours. He never shuts up. Jennifer tried to stand up, saying, Dad, Sit down, Jennifer, and listen because there's more, I commanded. I let it play through every word and every sentence. This isn't my problem. Nursing home, assisted living. If we sell the house, $400,000, Mark's face turned red with what might have been shame or anger or both, and I couldn't tell which. Show forgetfulness. Take her to the doctor. Power of attorney. We'll create an incident. The recording continued. Jennifer was crying silently, with tears flowing down her face, but I didn't stop the recording. The first recording ended, and I started the second one from November 14th, 2021, where Jennifer and Mark were talking. We'll start in a month. Hire a lawyer. Guardianship petition. Mark bowed his head and looked at the table, unable to speak or meet my eyes. The third recording from November 18th, 2021, played next. Doctor's appointment tomorrow. Dr. Morrison. Get a report. It'll be useful in court. When it ended, I turned off the speaker, and there was terrible silence in the room. I looked at them both for a long time before saying, 3 recordings from 3 separate conversations on November 10th, 14th, and 18th over a period of 2 weeks, showing a detailed plan to send me to a nursing home, sell my house, and take my money. Jennifer couldn't speak because she was sobbing and crying, completely broken. Mark finally spoke, saying, "Thomas, we're sorry. This was wrong. But there was pressure. Financial pressure, because we wanted to buy a house, but the down payment." "Down payment," I said coldly. "Yes, I heard all about it. My house worth $820,000 would become your down payment." "But Thomas," Mark tried to continue. "No, Mark, now it's your turn to listen," I said firmly. I stood up and took documents out of my pocket, placing them on the table one by one. "These are legal documents, notarized and dated," I announced. The first document, Living Trust document, dated November 20th, 2021. My house has now been transferred to a trust where I am the trustee, but you have no rights. And the house cannot be sold without my permission. And if I die, the backup trustee attorney Marcus Webb takes over and decides, not you. The second document, Dr. Harrison's report dated November 15th, 2021, showing a full checkup with cognitive test and the result being excellent. Health with no cognitive decline, no dementia, and full decision-making capacity. The third document, Dr. Morrison's report dated November 19th, 2021, from the doctor you took me to, Jennifer, where you tried to get a fake report, but the doctor acted ethically and wrote the real report stating healthy with no cognitive issues. The fourth document, Voice Recording Analysis by Richard Chen, digital forensic expert, dated November 22nd, 2021, showing he analyzed 3 recordings with the result being original, unaltered, and admissible as evidence in court. The fifth document, New Will dated November 26th, 2021, signed yesterday, where the old will said everything to Jennifer, but the new will says nothing to Jennifer and everything to charities, Seattle Children's Hospital, American Heart Association, and Alzheimer's Research Foundation in equal shares. I pushed all the papers toward them and said, "Read them carefully because this is the end of your plan." Jennifer took the papers with trembling hands and read through every page, her eyes widening as she said, "Dad, you cut me out of the will completely?" "Yes, I did," I confirmed. "But I'm your daughter," she protested. "Yes, you are my daughter, and I gave you everything, my life, my time, my money. I paid for your education and your wedding and helped with your house, everything," I said. "And what did I get in return? My dad is always here, I can't take it, and that's not my problem, and we'll sell the house and get $400,000. That's what I got. Betrayal. Complete and utter betrayal, I said. Mark tried to speak again. "Thomas, please." "Mark, shut up because your turn will come," I said harshly. I turned to Mark and said, "You're my son-in-law, and you've been with our family for 10 years, and I loved you and trusted you because I thought you were a good man. But you manipulated Jennifer by saying start within a month, or I'll do it. And you told her to hire a lawyer and file for guardianship," I continued. "You're the planner while Jennifer is just the executor of your scheme," I concluded. Mark shook his head, not crying but with his face completely broken, saying, "You're right. I was wrong. I'm sorry." "Sorry," I repeated. "Yes, sorry. But is that enough?" "No, not nearly enough." I sat back down and looked at both of them before saying, "Now listen very carefully, because I won't repeat this. 1. My house is not yours, and it never will be. When I die, it goes to charity. 2. My money is not yours. My retirement funds are mine, Social Security is mine, everything is mine, and when I die, it all goes to charity. 3. No power of attorney, no guardianship, no conservatorship, no legal authority whatsoever. If you go to court, I'll present the recordings and show your plan, and you'll lose. 4. I am healthy, and there are doctor's reports from 2 separate doctors, both saying the same thing. Healthy. If you go to court with false claims, I will countersue you for elder abuse and financial exploitation, and you will lose the case and your money and your reputation. 5. Our relationship is over starting today. You are not my family anymore, which means no more visits, no more phone calls, no more holidays, none of it. Jennifer screamed, "Dad, no! Please. I was wrong. I know. But I'm your daughter. You have grandchildren. Emma and Lucas. Think of them." I paused because Emma and Lucas were my innocent grandchildren who weren't to blame for any of this. "Emma and Lucas," I said slowly. "Yes, I love them, and I always will. But I can't see them because you're the bridge between us, and the bridge is burned, Jennifer, completely burned." "Dad, please," she begged. "No, Jennifer. I've made my decision, and it's final and it won't change," I said firmly. I stood up and pointed to the door, saying, "Now go both of you, and don't come back ever." Mark stood up slowly like a defeated man and asked, "Thomas, can I say one last thing?" "Go ahead," I allowed. "We did wrong, very wrong, and we deserve punishment. But one day, maybe you'll forgive us, and maybe we can talk again," he said. I looked at him and said, "Maybe, Mark, but not today, not tomorrow. Maybe years from now, or maybe never, I don't know. Now just go." Mark nodded and turned to Jennifer, saying, "Come on, let's go." Jennifer didn't get up but sat there crying, saying, "Dad, please, one more chance, just one chance." I approached and leaned in and looked into her eyes, saying, "Jennifer, did you give me a chance? Did you listen to me? Did you say, 'Dad, don't come every day, you're getting tired'? No, you never did. You made a secret plan. You lied to the doctor. You tried to make me look forgetful. And you tried to steal my house," I continued. "And now you've been caught. And this is the punishment. You no longer have a father," I said, as my tears flowed because I couldn't control them, because it hurt terribly. My daughter, my own daughter, and I was losing her by my own hand through my own decision. But there was no other choice because the trust was gone and the relationship was poisoned beyond repair. "Go, Jennifer. Please go and don't make this harder," I said. Mark came and took Jennifer and lifted her up, saying, "Come on, let's go." Jennifer resisted, saying, "No, Daddy, please, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry." Mark dragged her to the door and outside while Jennifer turned one last time and looked at me, saying, "I love you, Daddy. I always have, and I always will." And they left, and the door closed behind them. I was alone in the big, quiet house on that Saturday night, November 27th, 2021. And I sat on the couch and cried for a long time. For the first time in 3 years since Helen died, I really sobbed because I had lost everything: my wife, my daughter, my grandchildren, my family. But I had also gained something: my honor, my freedom, and my self-respect. Which gain was more valuable? I didn't know then, and I still don't know now. 6 months passed, and it was now May 2022, and life had changed completely. Jennifer had called 67 times, 67 separate attempts with every call and every message saying, "Dad, please, let's talk, I'm sorry." I didn't answer any of them, and I didn't respond to any of them, because the decision was final and it wouldn't change. Letters came too, handwritten in Jennifer's familiar script. Long letters saying, "Dad, I'm sorry. I made a mistake, but you have to understand there was financial pressure, and Mark was pushing me, and I was weak. But I love you, and I always have. I read every single letter carefully, but I didn't respond to any of them because financial pressure was no excuse, and Mark was pushing me was no excuse. Jennifer was an adult, and the decisions were hers, and the responsibility was hers. Emma wrote a letter too. She was 13 years old now, and it was a child's letter saying, "Grandpa, I miss you. Why don't you come anymore? Mom is crying all the time. Please come, I love you." That letter was the hardest one to read because Emma was innocent. She knew nothing about what had happened. She only knew that Grandpa isn't coming anymore. But I couldn't respond because talking to Emma meant talking to Jennifer, and I wasn't ready for that. Maybe I never would be. My life had changed dramatically, but it was better, really better than before. I signed up for the Seattle Senior Center, where there were activities every single day, including yoga and painting and chess and book club. I made real friends for the first time in years. Walter, who was 78 and a retired lawyer, Margaret, who was 72 and a retired nurse, and Robert, who was 70 and a retired teacher. All of them were in similar situations to mine, widowed and alone with relationships with their children that were either distant or completely estranged. And we found each other and became a support group, a social group, a family that wasn't related by blood. I started bowling on Tuesday nights with Robert and Walter, and I wasn't good at it. But it was fun because we laughed and talked and time passed enjoyably. I tried golf, but discovered I was terrible with no talent whatsoever. But I got outside and saw the sun and saw people, which was what mattered. And I started something else that changed everything, a podcast. The idea came from Walter, who said, "Thomas, you were a surgeon for 42 years, performing thousands of surgeries with incredible stories and experiences, so share them because people will listen." A podcast? I'm 74 years old, and I don't know how to do a podcast, I protested. "Learn how because it's easy, and I'll help you," Walter insisted. And I learned by getting a simple microphone and a computer and free recording software. I started the podcast in February 2022 with the name Dr. Thomas Talks, A Surgeon's Stories, where I covered operating room stories and medical stories and life lessons and ethical questions. Everything. The first episode was titled Heart Transplant Surgery, 12 Hours Between Life and Death, and I uploaded it to Spotify and Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts everywhere. The first week brought 5 listeners who were probably just my friends. The second week brought 20 listeners, and by the fourth week there were 200 listeners. The second month brought 1,000 listeners. The third month brought 5,000 listeners. And now in May 2022, 3 months later, I had 10,000 subscribers, 10,000 people listening to me, which was incredible. Comments started coming in saying, "Dr. Thomas, your stories are amazing, and operating room life is fascinating, and I dream of becoming a doctor like you." Young doctors were listening along with medical students and nurses. Everyone was finding value in what I shared. And I was happy for the first time in 3 years since Helen died, because I felt real purpose again. The podcast wasn't just stories, it was legacy. 42 years of knowledge and experience being shared instead of being kept hidden and lost forever. Was Jennifer listening to my podcast? I didn't know, and maybe she was, maybe she wasn't. But it didn't matter because now I wasn't doing this for Jennifer. I was doing it for myself and for thousands of strangers who listened to me and valued what I shared. November 2022 arrived, marking 1 year since the confrontation. And life continued without Jennifer. 1 year had passed, 365 days, with almost no contact, just very limited communication. The podcast had grown to 50,000 subscribers, which was absolutely incredible, and sponsors came with advertisements and money that I never expected. Messages arrived asking, "Dr. Thomas, will you write a book? Turn your stories into a book because we'll buy it." I thought about it seriously. A book, why not? I started writing every single day for 2 hours in the mornings over coffee on the computer, documenting 42 years of stories from start to finish, including the first surgery and the last surgery, the successes and mistakes, the patients and their families, everything. I wrote for 6 months and finished in March 2023 with 300 pages that I self-published on Amazon titled A Surgeon's Life, 42 Years in the Operating Room. I uploaded it and sold it, and the first week brought 1,000 copies sold, while the first month brought 10,000 copies sold. It was incredible. Income started coming in from the podcast and the book, and Social Security and my retirement fund. More than enough money. And I decided to move away from Seattle because here every corner reminded me of Jennifer. The house, the neighborhood, the hospital, everything held painful memories. I decided to move to Portland, Oregon, which was 2 hours south, a new city for a fresh start. I was going to sell the Queen Anne house with the trust handling the sale, and Marcus helping me through the process. "Thomas, are you sure about this? This house has been yours for 50 years, Marcus said with concern. "I'm sure, Marcus, because it's too big now and too empty, and I need a new place. A smaller place suitable for my age," I explained. "All right, I'll list it, and we'll get a good price because the market's good," he agreed. It sold within 1 month in August 2023 for $850,000, 30,000 profit over the appraised value, which was a good deal. I found a condo in Portland with 2 bedrooms in a modern building with a river view of the Willamette River, which was beautiful. The price was $450,000, leaving me with $400,000 remaining as a good retirement fund. I moved in September 2023 to my new home in a new city for a new life. I said goodbye to Seattle, the city I'd lived in for 45 years, Helen's city and Jennifer's city, but Portland was going to be my city, just mine. December 23rd, 2023 was the day before Christmas Eve when I was in my new condo in Portland, unpacking boxes and setting things up. The doorbell rang, and I was surprised because no one knew about this place yet, except Marcus and a few friends. I opened the door and froze completely. Jennifer was standing there. Jennifer, my daughter, who I was seeing for the first time in 2 years since November 2021, and she had changed dramatically. She looked older with whiter hair and more wrinkles and red eyes, as if she had been crying constantly. "Dad," she said, with her voice trembling. "I found you because Marcus didn't tell me, but I heard on your podcast that you moved to Portland, and I looked it up in property records and you bought a condo, this place." I couldn't speak and just stared at her in shock. "Dad, please, can we talk for just 5 minutes? Only 5 minutes?" she begged. What should I do? Should I close the door and say, "No, go away"? But I was curious about what she would say after 2 years, so I said, "Come in." She came in and looked around, saying, "Nice place, Dad, small but warm." "Sit down," I said, pointing to the sofa. We sat down facing each other in awkward silence. "Dad," Jennifer finally said, "it's been 2 years since we haven't spoken. I haven't seen you, and you didn't answer my calls or my letters." "I know," I said simply. "Why, Dad?" "Why didn't you ever answer?" she asked. I looked at her carefully before saying, "Because, Jennifer, there was nothing left to say." I said everything that night on November 27th, 2021. The night of reckoning when you listened and understood and I punished you, and it was over. "But Dad, I've changed. I've really changed," she insisted. "How did you change?" I challenged. "I left Mark," she said quietly. I paused in surprise and asked, "What did you say?" I left Mark last year in summer 2022, and we divorced with everything finalized in September 2022, she explained. I was shocked and asked, "Why did you leave him?" "Because you were right, Dad. Mark manipulated me and Mark pressured me, and that plan was his idea, not mine. I was weak and I went along with it. But it was wrong, very wrong," she said. And I thought about it for a whole year, asking myself, why isn't Dad responding? Because he really doesn't forgive me. Because the betrayal was really that big. And I understood that staying with Mark was wrong because that relationship was toxic, she continued. So I left him and took the kids and moved into my own place. A rental that's small. But we're happy for the first time in years. We're truly happy, she said. I listened in stunned silence, wondering if Jennifer had left Mark for me or for herself. "Dad, I don't want your money, and I don't want a house, and I don't want anything except you. Just you in my life and in my grandchildren's lives, because Emma and Lucas miss you terribly, and they ask every day, 'Where's Grandpa? Why doesn't he come?'" she said. "And I don't know what to say to them. Should I say Grandpa's angry because Mom did something really bad, and Grandpa won't forgive her? How do I say that to a 15-year-old?" she asked. My eyes filled with tears because Emma was 15 now, and Lucas was 12, and they were innocent grandchildren who didn't deserve this. "Jennifer," I said slowly, "maybe you've changed, but the trust is gone. That trust won't come back easily, do you understand? You planned to sell me out 2 years ago for my house and for my money." "I know, Dad. And I'm sorry every single day. I regret it constantly, but I want another chance, just one chance, and we'll go slowly, step by step, to build trust again," she said. I paused to think carefully about whether I should forgive and give her another chance. There were two voices inside me. One voice said, "Yes, forgive her because she's your daughter and life is short, so forgive your family." While the other voice said, "No, don't forgive her because the trust is gone and the relationship is over, and if she does it again, it will hurt even more." Which voice was right? "Jennifer," I finally said, "you don't understand something important. I moved to Portland and moved away from Seattle because everything there reminded me of you, and it hurt. Here I made a new start with new friends and new activities and my podcast and my book and my life," I continued. "And you come now and say one more chance. But that disturbs my peace and disturbs my new life," I explained. "Dad, I don't want to disturb it. I just want to be a part of it. Your new life. Even just a small part. But a part," she said. I looked at her for a long time and saw real remorse and real pain in her eyes. But was it enough? "Jennifer, give me time. More time. Because today I can't decide since I'm still angry and still hurting," I said. "But maybe in the future, maybe 6 months from now, or maybe a year from now, we can talk again," I added. "How long, Dad? How long will I wait?" she asked desperately. "I don't know, Jennifer. I truly don't know. But I can't rush it, because forgiveness takes time. A lot of time," I explained. Jennifer cried and said, "Okay, Dad. I'll wait as long as it takes. But please don't forget that I'm here and I'm ready for a chance." She got up and walked to the door and turned back, saying, "Merry Christmas, Dad. I love you." "Merry Christmas, Jennifer," I replied. She left and the door closed, and I sat there for a long time. Should I forgive her? I still didn't know, but maybe one day I would. Because life was too short to live in anger forever. Today is August 2024, and 3 years have passed since that first betrayal in November 2021. I am 77 years old now, and I'm healthy and happy. The podcast continues with Dr. Thomas Talks, having reached 120 episodes with 100,000 subscribers. I wrote a second book titled Operating Room Ethics, Decisions Between Life and Death, that was published last month in July 2024, and it's selling well on Amazon as #1 in the medical ethics category. I give lectures at medical schools and universities on life lessons from a retired surgeon, and students listen and ask questions and get inspired by what I share. And my life is full and meaningful, where every day has purpose, and every day has people, and every day has contribution. Jennifer and I still talk, but it's limited to once a month on the phone with short calls where she asks, "How are you, Dad?" And I say, "I'm fine, sweetie, how are you?" And she says, "I'm fine, and the kids are fine, and they all say hi." Did I forgive her? Partially, not completely, but the anger has subsided and the pain has subsided. Did we meet in person? No, not yet, because I wasn't ready. Maybe in the future, maybe never. I didn't know. Emma and Lucas, I sent them gifts on their birthdays and at Christmas with cards and books and little things, but it showed that Grandpa remembers and Grandpa loves them. Jennifer sent thank you messages saying, "Dad, the kids were so happy, thank you. And one day I hope we'll see each other." One day, Jennifer. Maybe one day, I would reply. Today I'm walking along the river in Portland, the Willamette River, on a beautiful August day with warm sun and clean air. The phone rang showing an unknown number, and I answered, "Hello?" "Dr. Mitchell?" came a young woman's voice. "My name is Sarah, and I'm from Stanford Medical School. I listen to your podcast, and I'm a third-year student who wants to be a surgeon." "Hi, Sarah. What can I do for you?" I asked. "Doctor, I listened to your podcast episode called When I Made a Mistake, about a mistake during surgery that led to patient loss and how you dealt with it. And that episode changed my life," she said. "How so?" I asked curiously. "Because, doctor, I made a mistake too during rotation. A small mistake, but it affected the patient, and I felt so guilty that I thought about quitting medicine," she explained. "But I listened to your story where you said making mistakes is human, but learning from mistakes is essential, and learning and continuing takes courage. And I continued, and I learned from the mistake, and I forgave myself. And now I'm a better doctor because of you," she said. My eyes welled up with tears as I stood by the river, and I said, "Sarah, thank you. This is the best gift, really." "No, doctor, thank you, because you do a podcast and you share knowledge and experience, and thousands of people listen, and thousands of people learn. And this is a real legacy," she replied. The phone call ended, and I sat on a bench by the river thinking deeply. Legacy. Inheritance. 42 years of surgery from 1977 to 2019, with thousands of surgeries and thousands of patients and saving lives. But now a different legacy through podcast and book and lectures, sharing knowledge and sharing experience and educating the next generation of doctors. Jennifer had expected a house inheritance from me and a monetary inheritance back in November 2021. But the real legacy, the true legacy, was knowledge and experience and stories. And that legacy was growing every day with every podcast episode and every book sold and every lecture and every student like Sarah. This was what Jennifer couldn't understand. Money runs out and houses are sold, but knowledge lives forever from generation to generation. I returned home to my condo in Portland and turned on the microphone because it was podcast recording time every Thursday, which had become routine. Hello, I'm Dr. Thomas Mitchell, and welcome to the Dr. Thomas Talks podcast, episode 121, August 15th, 2024, I began. Today I'll be discussing a special topic: family, betrayal, forgiveness, and legacy, I continued. 3 years ago, something happened in November 2021. Something very personal. My daughter, my only child, betrayed me for money and for my house and for her future, I said. She made plans to send me to a nursing home and sell my house and control my money, I explained. And I found out by accident because of a Bluetooth connection that let me hear every plan and every conversation, I continued. And I was very hurt and very angry because my daughter was selling me out. My own daughter, I said. I confronted her on November 27th, 2021, where I showed the evidence and the recordings and the doctor's reports. Everything, I recounted. I punished her by disinheriting her and cutting off contact and moving to another city, I explained. And 3 years passed from 2021 to 2024, where we didn't talk or talked very little with limited contact, I said. Did I forgive her? Partially, not completely, because there's still pain and there's still hurt, I admitted. But I learned something important. Holding on to anger kills you slowly and unnoticed, I said. And I wanted to live fully and meaningfully, I continued. So I let go of most of the anger, not completely, but most of it, I explained. And I started a new life with my podcast in February 2022, and my book in March 2023, and lectures where I share knowledge and experience, I said. And I found true happiness and true purpose because every day people like Sarah write to me saying, "Doctor, your podcast changed my life," or "Doctor, your book inspired me," I shared. This is the real legacy, not money or a house, but knowledge and experience and stories, I emphasized. If you're in a similar situation with family betrayal or money disputes or loss of trust, here's what I'll tell you, I said. 1. Protect yourself by protecting your assets legally through trust and will and lawyer. Take necessary steps, I advised. 2. Gather evidence with recordings and documents, everything. Because I said isn't enough, you need proof, I continued. 3. Confront them directly and clearly, leaving no room for ambiguity, and give fair punishment, I added. 4. Walk away and move if you have to for a fresh start away from old hurts, I suggested. 5. Consider forgiveness, not immediately, but maybe years later. Consider it because anger hurts you, not them, I said. 6. Find new purpose and new community and new activity because life isn't just one relationship. It's many relationships and many purposes, I encouraged. 7. Think about your legacy. What will remain after you die? Money, a house, or knowledge and experience and stories? I asked. I chose stories and knowledge, and now I wake up every day with meaning, I said. My relationship with my daughter isn't perfect, but it exists. It's small, but it exists, and maybe it will be better in the future, maybe not. I don't know, I admitted. But I know one thing. I am happy, I am at peace, and I am free, I concluded. And that's the most important thing, I finished. I stopped the recording and listened to it. It was a good episode, the most personal episode, but also the most honest episode. I was going to publish it tomorrow on Friday morning when thousands of people would listen to it. Would Jennifer listen? Probably, because she listened to every episode. Marcus had told me that. And what would she think? I didn't know. Maybe she'd be sad. Maybe she'd be angry. Maybe she'd understand. But it didn't matter because this podcast wasn't for Jennifer. It was for thousands of strangers, people like Sarah who didn't know me but would learn from my story. Today is August 15th, 2024, a Thursday in Portland with sunny late summer weather and a beautiful season. I bought plants for my balcony, green plants that are alive and growing. What will I send Emma and Lucas for their birthdays coming up? I don't know yet, but something small that shows Grandpa remembers. Will Jennifer and I talk? Maybe one day, but there's no rush. Because I am at peace for the first time in years, truly at peace. And I know Helen is watching from above and smiling. Thomas, she says, you did the right thing by protecting yourself and protecting your honor. And you built a new life. I'm proud of you. Thank you, sweetheart. Because your support was always there from 1966 to 2018. 52 years, always. I reply. The phone rang, and I looked to see Jennifer calling. I answered, "Hello? Dad, how are you?" she asked. "I'm fine, Jennifer, how are you?" I replied. "I'm fine, Dad. I just wanted to call because I was thinking about you," she said. "Thank you. I'm thinking about you too," I said. "Dad, I listened to the new episode of your podcast about our story from 3 years ago in November 2021, she said. "Yes, I released it," I confirmed. "Dad, I understand why you released it, so others would learn and pay attention because family betrayal is real and serious," she said. "Yes, that's why," I agreed. "And Dad, I'm still sorry every single day for those days in November 2021 and those plans and those conversations, all of it. But I know forgiveness takes time. Maybe years, maybe never," she said. "But Dad, I love you. I always have. I showed it wrong, horribly wrong, but I did," she added. My eyes filled with tears as I said, "I love you too, Jennifer. I always have and I always will. But love and trust are different things. Love is there, but trust needs repair, long repair." "I know, Dad, and I will repair it, I promise, however long it takes," she said. "Okay, Jennifer, time will tell," I replied. "Goodbye, Dad. Emma and Lucas say hi, and they love you," she said. "I love them too. Tell them that. Gifts are coming on their birthdays," I said. "Thank you, Dad," she replied. The phone call ended, and I sat by the window, watching the river flow slowly and quietly and beautifully. And I thought about my life. 77 years, a long life, a full life. 52 years with Helen from 1966 to 2018, a perfect marriage with true love. 47 years with Jennifer since 1977, a complicated relationship. But she's still my daughter, and I still loved her. A 42-year surgical career from 1977 to 2019, with thousands of surgeries and thousands of lives saved. And now a new career since 2022, with podcast and book and lectures touching thousands of new lives. Did I regret anything? No, not a single thing. Confronting Jennifer? No. It was necessary in November 2021. Moving? No, it was the best decision in September 2023. Starting a new life? Absolutely not. These have been my happiest years since 2022. If I could go back to November 2021, I would do the same thing again, every single step, because it was right, morally right, and personally right. Sometimes saying no to your family is the greatest love because it forces them to change and grow and learn true values. Jennifer changed truly by leaving Mark in 2022 and becoming independent, and for the first time in her life she stood on her own 2 feet. This was my gift, not a monetary gift, but a gift of freedom and responsibility. And one day, maybe one day, Jennifer will fully understand by saying, "Dad, you saved me, not by giving me money, but by cutting off the money, because money was making me weak and dependent. But now I'm strong, truly strong." Maybe that day will come or maybe it won't. I don't know. But it doesn't matter because I did the right thing by being honest with myself and staying true to my values. And now I live in peace, real peace. The river flows slowly and quietly like life, and I sit here in my Portland condo at 77 years old, alone but not lonely, because I have my community and I have purpose and I have life. I look at Helen's photo and say, "See, honey? I survived. Not just survived, but truly lived again from 2021 to 2024, 3 years of new life." The wind is blowing and the trees sway as if Helen is answering. "I saw you, Thomas, and I was proud. You're a very strong man, stronger than I thought. And I'm always with you in your heart forever." I smile as tears flow, but they are happy tears, tears of peace, because I know I chose the right path, the hard way, the painful way, but the right way. And in the end, I won. Freedom, honor, and peace. This is my story. Dr. Thomas Mitchell, 77 years old, retired surgeon, podcast creator, author, and survivor. I was betrayed by my family in 2021, but I didn't give up. I fought and I won. And now I inspire thousands of people every day with my podcast and my books and my story. This is true victory. Not money, not a house, but legacy, knowledge legacy, experience legacy, inspiration legacy. If you're listening to this story and you're in a similar situation, I'm telling you, never give up, protect yourself, stand up for your rights, but don't stay angry. Build a new life, a meaningful life, a purposeful life. Because life is too short for revenge and too short for anger, but it's long enough to start over and be happy again. If you liked this story, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts about this story in the comments. Where are you listening from? Click the box on the left to watch the next story.